Hi and welcome to the next episode of Qt QML tutorial. In the previous one, we wanted to put images in our app, but at that point, you did not know how to do that, right? So let's fix it. My name is Lukas Kosinski. I am the CEO of SciStudio, Qt QML consulting company. We help our customers achieve their objectives by providing them with skilled Qt developers. Nowadays, there is almost no user interface, no GUI without any graphical assets used. And despite of images, there are plenty of other types of media that you could want to add to your app. Images, video files, GIFs, icons, sounds, or even ordinary text files. All of that could be a resource bundled with your application. And for that, in Qt framework, there is a feature named Qt Resource System that you should use. Let's learn how to do it then. The Qt Resource System is a Qt framework's feature that allows you to embed external resources such as graphics, icons, translation files, and data files, and many other directly into the executable of your application. This allows for quick resource access and deployment without the need for external file paths. It simplifies application distribution and maintaining resource integrity. To utilize the Qt Resource System, there are two ways to do so. In older Qt version, especially in Qt 5, developers had to first create a resource file, .qrc, that specifies which files to include. This file serves as a, let's say, virtual directory structure that replicates the real file's organization. The structure of the QRC file is really simple and it's based on XML syntax. Besides defining source locations, QRC files also allow to give them human-friendly aliases. To be able to use them, you can just specify it in XML. And to be able to use QRC files in your project, in CMake, you have to set variable option CMake auto RCC to on. It's still, this method is still used quite often currently, so it's highly possible that you will encounter that. In Qt 6, however, Qt introduced additional CMake commands to, let's say, unify this problem. Now you can include all necessary resources using the very same instruction that is used for adding QML files. So Qt add QML module. You can add your resource files as part of your main QML module or any other module, and then you can use it in your module QML files using their relative path. Those ways, you can include any file that you want in the Qt program. You can then freely use those included files both in C++ and QML. In C++ picture, resources are often represented by a QImage or QPixmap classes, and they allow to transfer image data or paint it using other classes like, for example, QPainter. There is also a QIcon class that is used to set icons to your application's window or to buttons in Qt widgets. And in the QML, to show a picture, you can use image item. This is the most basic item for showing images, icons, and any other static pictures. And you will probably use it for most of the time. For animated GIFs, you can use animated image type. If you want to display a video in QML, then you have to use video type. To do so, you, however, need to link your project to Qt multimedia module, as video type is part of it. Now, let's start the fun part of the episode. We'll continue improving our music player. Previously, we ended up with a mocked player that showed only some boring rectangles as songs covers. Now we can make it better and show actual covers of the songs. However, due to the copyright issues, let's use some random pictures here instead of real album covers. I prepared 3 sample PNG files and 1 video file to use here, and later we can also replace text buttons with real icons. I have prepared PNG files for that as well. I will show you how to add assets to the project, how to use images in the app, and additional how to set up a custom icon to your applications window. Okay, so let's go. Before we start actual coding, let's prepare our images. We create separate assets folder in project directory. Then we can create folder images inside. And here I will paste images that I have prepared, just like this. Then let's go back to the assets folder and create one for icons. Here I will put icon file and the other icons for buttons as well. Now in Qt Creator, we should adjust CMake list. Here, all we need to do is add resources keyword to the Qt add QML module command. And after that, we should put here a path to our assets. We start by adding images. So first one would be assets, images, song 1. And yeah, let's add the rest of the files now. Okay, now let's save it. CMake should run automatically and our files should be added to the project in a second. Yeah, they should be there now. Now we can modify our audio info box item to use image instead of rectangle for album cover. We do that by simply replacing a rectangle with an image item. Like that. However, do you remember that we had alias to rectangle's color in the root? We need to update it too. Let's rename it to image source, and let's point to album image source property. We also need to update all references to old color property. So let's go now to the main file. And as you probably noticed, Qt Creator already complains about assigning to non-existing properties, but yeah, no worries, we will fix that. Instead of image color, we have to provide image source. Source is a string property which should be a path to the resource, image in this case. And since we added resources to the very same module as our main.qml lives in, we can just use a relative path here. So it should be just assets, images, song 1. Yeah, for the first song, and let's do the same for the other songs. Okay, now let's go to main CPP file and let's change our application's window icon. We do it using Q core application set window icon method like this. However, this method requires QIcon argument, so we need to create it on fly, and QIcon is not recognized here, so we need to add an appropriate header. We can do that using refactor menu. QIcon takes string URL to icon file. However, main CPP is outside of the QML module. So you could actually simply notice that by taking a look at cmake list.txt, because there in Qt QML module you won't find main CPP there. Main CPP is in the other command, it's added directly to the target. So we need to specify path to the resource, including the module's URI. So Somco player is the URI, and then just the path to the asset. And you have to start with colon and slash. Now let's check if it works. Okay, and firstly the album cover is here, and the icon of the window also changed. It's now longer than the default window icon. Yeah, and the songs are still changeable and their covers change as well. Now let's update button controls of our player. First, let's rename text button.qml to image button.qml. And we also need to update cmake list.txt to reflect this change as well. We do it here. And after that, we go to the image button item, and we need to replace item root type with an image type. We also have to get rid of text and color properties, as we do no longer need them, as well as this rectangle and text. We do not need them. And to actually highlight that button is hovered, we will need to modify opacity property. So if button mouse area contains mouse, then the opacity will be 75%, and otherwise it's going to be 100%, to highlight that mouse is over the button. Let's also set a mip map property to true. I was too lazy to prepare SVG files for this example, and this property helps improving the quality of images after scaling down. Yeah, and also we need to change the name of the item in the main file. Text button is no longer recognized. And we also need to set them a source, a property instead of text, to tell which icon should be actually used. So let's do that. Let's do that for others. Yeah, there is some error with recognizing types that happens sometimes, and in such case, I usually go to QML.js and resource code model option. Yeah, and a second. And yeah, the problem is gone. Yeah, let's change the other paths. We also have to set width and height of all buttons to 64 to be squares. Moreover, in main play pause button, we'll change source accordingly to the current state of player controller. So if it's playing, then we will display pause icon, and if it's paused, then we will display play icon. Okay, we can run it. Yeah, and as you can see, text buttons were replaced with buttons with the icons. They look nice. I wanted to show more types of resources in this episode, so let's also make it possible to put video item in your application for album cover. Adding a video file in QML is also a common case, so let's do that. Firstly, we need to link Qt multimedia module to our app because it's needed. Or maybe not to app, more specifically to the target, to the cmake target. Qt Multimedia module makes it possible to embed a video in your QML app, and that has to be done in CMake. You add multimedia to find package command. So CMake knows as the build system, you tell CMake to look for it. And now linking. Standard project template has a Qt Quick module already linked, but you also need to link Qt 6 multimedia to apps target. And then you just save the file in order to start CMake magic, to CMake's work. And yeah, remember that to use multimedia module, you have to have it installed. For example, using Qt maintenance application, as it's shown here. This option under additional modules, this one should be checked. Yeah, I prepare some short sample video here, but firstly, let's create appropriate folder in the asset structure like this, and let's put my video here. And now we go back to CMake, and we need to add our video file to the QML module, just like images. There is no difference here. So we put a path after resources. And now we need to modify our audio info box to also hold video. Firstly, we need to import Qt Multimedia. Again, for some reason, it's not recognized. I will reset code model, tools, QML.js, reset code model. Yeah, and it's okay again. Yeah, and now we can put a video item right below image. In normal conditions, we would need to do that smarter. For example, we could dynamically load a needed type depending on provided source. But it's QML fundamentals course, and I got the blessing from my guys at Sci Studio to do like that, but only for this tutorial. If the video source is set, it will cover the image because the size and position would be the same. Let's set property loops to media player infinite because we want to play it all the time, and the volume sound is not needed. Yeah, and then we have to somehow start or stop the video. I think that we can change its playback state based on audio info box visibility. You remember that if the user switches the song, then it stops being visible. So we can create unvisible slot for the root item, and here we check if root is visible. If yes, we can call album video dot play, and otherwise we should reset the video position to 0 and stop the playback. And finally, we need to make this video item accessible, so we create property alias let's copy this one, video source. And it's going to point to album video item source property. Yeah, and now to test whether it works, we'll go back to main QML again. Again, problem with code model for some reason. I don't know what's going on today. Okay, so for the first song, we will set that video source property to path to the video asset that we have added. And because of some Qt multimedia module limitations, we have to put a full path here, like similarly to the C++. So we start with QRC /, then modules URI, and then the path. Yeah, and now we can start the app to check if everything is in order. So yeah, the image covers for the first and second songs are in place. And when we switch to the third song, then we can see a video here. And yeah, we did all of that thanks to the Qt resource system. Yeah, so that's how you include any media asset to your project. Of course, there are plenty of other possibilities. We could include just sounds, just GIFs, or ordinary text files. But for now, I wanted to show you the most basic usage of Qt resource system. Thank you for watching this episode. Let me know what do you think about the series in the comments. Remember to subscribe, to like the video, and also you can follow us on LinkedIn. Check the links in the description. In the next episode, you will learn how to make C++ talking with QML. We'll start learning how to integrate QML and C++. Let's see.